Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
And we welcome into our program today. He's been a bit on the crook side as our Horowhenua Mayor Michael Feyen. Good morning, Michael.
Are you there?
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Good. I'm just going to... Hang on, I'll just put you on the loudspeaker because you're capping out all the time.
Oh, right. OK. Whereabouts are you today? Outside somewhere?
No, I'm at home preparing for our long-term plan tonight and the striking of the rate.
Ah, right. OK. What's it looking like at this stage, Michael?
Well, it's a 5.5% rates increase, and the LTP that we've got is a pretty lightweight one, really. I'd like to have seen a lot more in it, but such is life.
It's balancing up. It's very difficult. And, of course, you've got to add on the Horizons rates on top of that, haven't they?
Yes, we do. And, a lot of people that I know believe that we should be hauling... I've got a good working relationship there, but... we sort of seem to have two lots of bureaucracy, and then we've got LGNZ, and then we've got the government. So it's a bureaucratic nightmare.
Yes, it is indeed. But, we've got to think of the fact that Horowhenua is about to boom if it's not already booming. So it's important that you get the infrastructure and all that right at this point. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble.
Yes, we do have to have quality infrastructure. There's absolutely no question on that, and there will be more houses built. There's no arguing that either. We really are having quite a demographic change. A lot of people are selling up. They've retired. They're selling up and cashing in on cheaper houses down here. There's literally nothing left. But people are in a sense being squeezed out of the region as well because they can't afford to live here anymore.
Yeah, sure.
With the rents, and that's just part of growth, I guess. So. There'll be another town down the line that probably will increase its population as a result. That's
right. Even like places like Shannon will become very, very popular, no doubt. And Foxton is already booming along too, isn't it?
Yes, well, Foxton, you can literally not buy a house here. Foxton Beach is predominantly where most of the build is going on. That's for sure.
Right. Now, see, another important thing for Horowhenua, of course, is getting this Otaki to Levin expressway, and you're going to lobby the government over it. 7 mayors and a regional council chairman created a lobbying force to convince NZTA to commit to a big roading project in the wider Manawatu. Well, I think NZTA are most probably okay to go ahead with it, but it's the government that's holding you back, isn't it?
Well, the government it's a paradigm shift in what they're wanting compared to the previous government. They don't see massive roads everywhere as the answer. They see road safety, public transport, rail, commuter rail, freight rail, these sorts of things. We obviously here with the O2NL, which is the Otaki to North Levin, that road there is a dangerous road, and if the government are thinking about not doing as much on it, we really need to make sure that all of the dangerous aspects of that road are taken out and that road really tidied up. They've actually done it between Levin and Shannon. The roads can take the traffic, but we need no matter what, we need quality bypasses at either end of Levin to stop the congestion in town, to take the trucks out of our town, to make traffic flow a lot smoother. So we, at the very least, would need those interchanges. And NZTA themselves have said that there's only going to be an increase of cars of 4,000 a day by 2040. Well, these roads can handle that now. The piece between Otaki and Levin absolutely needs to have an upgrade at the very least if they're not going to go ahead with O2NL. So we're all waiting for another government policy statement on the roading in about 3 months, as I understand it.
Yes, it's ludicrous when you're coming through Levin the other day, is a great big sheep truck, which they've got no alternative but to go through the middle of town. Just behind that was a great big logging truck, so it create a bit of a mess up there, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, it also makes developing the town how we would like it to be a lot more difficult as well if we're stuck with this same system of roading.
Yes.
As I keep saying, the bypasses are absolutely vital. State Highway 57 can take the increase, because if you split that 4,000 to 2,000 cars a day by 2040, that's actually not a hell of a big growth either when you think about it. It could even be less if our government gets all the changes it wants in terms of commuter rail and public transport and the like.
Yes.
Electric cars, all these sorts of things.
And how is your ideas of town development there going at the moment? Has it been pushed ahead a wee bit? Because you were looking at sort of, making it a more friendly town and exciting town, so...
Yeah, well, I think it's the people I meet anyway, they're all friendly, and when you talk excitement, I think that that will come. Tourism is very big in this area and has always been underrated by our council, and it's only in recent times that it's really coming to the fore, the importance of tourism. And when you really get people starting to think like that, I mean, we could wind up with a luge in the hills that is bigger than anything anybody's ever seen. Who knows? We can getting Lake Horowhenua cleaned up would be a massive help to us in tourism. We already have fantastic parks for recreation, fantastic parks for sport, great places just to stop off, get off the highway and feed and water your kids, all of those, and keep them entertained. All of these sorts of things are here, and can only be improved on as we go along. It's a great place. We've been on State Highway 1 and 57 for so many years now, and we're only just starting to realise what it really does mean to us in an economic sense.
Well, you mentioned Lake Horowhenua. It's a magnificent lake once it is cleaned up again, but of course an affidavit to the court seeking an injunction to prevent earthworks and activities at the lake. So is that going to be a big hold-up for you?
The devil's in the detail, Nigel. I mean, there's obviously conflict between parties, and I look at it and think both parties want the same thing, and in reality, and I believe that it's all about communication and getting the trust and partnership side of things right with mana whenua, tangata whenua. It's so vital to move forward in our area. We really do need to have this partnership and trust base with all mana whenua and tangata whenua, not just keeping groups apart. I just detest that.
Yes. Do you think that'll ever come to fruition?
Oh, I definitely see that. I mean, everybody knows, Nigel, I'm a minority mayor, and so many of the things I'd like to do are just not going to happen under this triennium. And to me, as I've always stated, the relationships with tangata whenua are absolutely vital. Mana whenua is just absolutely vital. But we're all human beings, aren't we? And it seems that sometimes people just seem to like conflict more than anything else. And I'm not just talking in iwi relations either. I'm talking about across the board, really. So it's been a majorly interesting time being a mayor of the Horowhenua, I can assure you.
Sure. And I see where millions of dollars of council assets are going to be transferred into independent hands to help boost the Horowhenua economy. And this sounds a fairly promising sort of an idea. You agreed to it as a council about last November, didn't you, to support this idea?
Well, it was really in the last triennium that came up. I actually voted to have a look at that idea as well. Again, the devil's in the detail there. We have to have very good public communications over this, and iwi really need to know that if we have 40% of our assets going into something, that when they have their treaty settlements, that's gone. And I think that there's a lot of things that still need looking at. I believe we need to have a wider base of trustees. We don't have any iwi in that. We have nobody that's related to tourism in that. So there's a few things that I'm definitely questioning, and I'll stand up and say so.
Right.
I've had no involvement at all with the setting up of that trust.
Okay, no. So there'll be further discussions coming up very soon by the sounds of that, is there?
I think there will be, Nigel.
Because it's got some positives, I would think. You're just dropping off those sort of non-profit pieces of the council that they don't need.
Well, we did sell our pensioner housing at a major loss, and so that makes me wary of anything being sold off that's owned by the residents until the residents really know the whole story, understand how it's all being done. And I would like it to be, we've had ads in the paper with the trusts and all that, and they're not even on the go yet. So, yeah, I'll just see how, I'm just following process at the moment.
Okay.
As much as I can in my position.
I see that, it involves quite a bit of grazing land too, some developed industrial land, some commercial buildings and other surplus council land. So
Yeah, that's right. And, we just have to make sure and be very careful what we do with it in the future. To my way of thinking, councils voted in to make all of these decisions, but when decisions are going to be made by unelected people, I find that, I'm definitely keeping an eye on it, it's the best way to put it.
Yeah, okay.
I have no problems, there's no personal problems involved in any of this, it's just the whole theory behind it, really.
And just finally, before you dash off, Shannon residents are pretty unhappy about the Memorial Hall being sold off. Now, who owns that hall? Is it the council or is it the residents of Shannon?
No, the council has those halls. I mean, they're wanting to sell. I voted against that as well, Nigel. The Memorial Hall in Foxton's due to go, and that is really causing a lot of resentment in this area. I just cannot see the logic of, and I'm the only one that voted against the sale of those, but I cannot see the logic of getting rid of a hall like that when in reality it would only cost about somewhere around the 270 to 300k to earthquake-proof it, everything. You can't build a hall for that, and it's a fantastic, it's, the Memorial Hall revolves around the Anzac, and people really want it. It's really the only place in Foxton that you can use a hall in such a way, have your 21st, have your engagement parties or your wedding thing there. That's in reality, it's a hall specifically designed for public meetings and all of these sorts of things, whereas we don't have that anywhere else in town currently.
So is there any return? I mean, you hire these halls out. Is there much of a return to help out the cost of getting them repaired?
No, well, the thing here with the cost of it, but when you price yourself out of the market to even hire the hall out, nobody's going to hire it, are they?
No, well, you got the one in the middle of town.
These halls here, because they were paid for and built by the residents and the rates over all this time, you got to wonder when you could be charged up to $500 a night and all these sorts of things. That's unaffordable for most in the demographic that we've got in this district.
So you
currently,
you live in Memorial Hall. Is that in the same situation, or is it okay?
Yeah, it's another hall that I just don't see the point in removing it, bowling it, whatever. That's another one we're quoted. I think it was $275,000 is all it would take to get that. Being a really good hall again, and a lot of people use it. It's right. It's very central, and I think it's with a little bit of care and attention that it needs, it will be a good building to keep.
So that would be ratepayer funded to get it repaired, I suppose.
Well, everything is when or we have to take out loans to do it. But at the end of the day, everything always comes back to the ratepayers. But when you have so many that don't want to lose something, you really have to listen to them. And
that applies to the OHOW Hall as well, doesn't it?
Beg your pardon?
That applies to the OHOW Hall as well.
Yeah, it applies to all the halls. I mean, for our long-term plan, we only went out on 3 challenges, as they're called, and one was around the community halls. One was the season length of the Foxton pool, and the other one was providing new drinking water and wastewater infrastructure to growing settlements. To my way of thinking, I would have liked to have seen the whole waste minimisation thing involved in all of this as well, all of our much more clarity around the infrastructure, just stuff like that. But, I'm only one vote, and people make up their own minds. I certainly wish that our live streaming was conducted on Facebook so that we were getting 4,000 people watching our meetings. Now, literally nobody watches the meetings now because they can't find it.
I see. Where is it on?
Well, it's been taken off Facebook and put into a council system.
All right, yep.
So that if you're watching the live streaming, happen to be watching it, that's cool. But if you miss that, then you have to wait a number of days usually before it comes on, and by that time it's all old news.
Old news. All right then, well, we thank you very much for your valuable time this morning, Michael, and best of luck with LTP discussions finally setting the rates tomorrow night, is it?
Yeah, no, it's tonight.
Tonight.
Anybody in your catchment that's wanting to come to a very good place to live near the sea, you want to come to Horowhenua. We've definitely got a lot to offer in this district.
Thank
the
you.
old politics side of it, you get that everywhere, but it's definitely got a lot going for it, the Horowhenua.
Horowhenua Mayor Michael Feyen.
106.3 Beach FM.